I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's go ahead and do roll call. And I got that one copy from you. And I had these guys all edited to make sure we had the right numbers. And roll call. Lenny Baker, aye. We got Dan here. We got Scott Smiley. Apparently he's not on Zoom, so he's probably not attending. And Chris here. Randy here. Kurt. Yeah, I don't know if we need you in our role, but we got Chuck. He's here. And we don't really need him in our role. All I need is members. Okay, so that go ahead and takes care of our roll call. The other thing that we go through next would be approval of the minutes for our last meeting. We had a couple of copies of it. What's that?
Do you approve the agenda?
Approving the agenda for this agenda.
This
Right.
Okay. Then we go down lower for our minutes approval. Okay, approval of the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to see it? For what we're gonna be doing today? Move we approve the agenda. We have a motion.
I'll second.
And we have a second to approve our agenda for today. Now we move down to
You just
the
vote on
minutes.
You just vote on the motion in second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay. Now we can move down to the approval of the amendments of the May 4th meeting. I think we've had a copy of it here, so everybody's kind of had a chance to look at it. A lot of us seen it online, so we have a good idea on what they were. And do I have a motion to approve our minutes from the 4th?
Motion to approve.
Second was.
No, second,
Yes.
give somebody
Okay.
the first.
So we have, okay, all in favor of approving the,
Aye.
okay. So we're all approved. Our minutes for the 4th, they're all taken care of. Old business. Okay, that moves us to A. One of the things that we have discussed since we started this committee was getting our charter set up. Okay, Ilana sent us all via email copies of 3 different charters. One of them was for the nightlights. The other one was Fire Adaptive Committee. And the other one was for the Veterans Wellness. Well, I have looked through them. The lights charter doesn't really fit very well into what we do. So I feel that the Fire Adaptive Committee charter is probably going to be the easiest one for us to edit and fit into our realm for what we're trying to accomplish with our group. So I guess we could get a motion to say that we're gonna edit the Fire Adaptive Committee.
Who's gonna be responsible to edit it?
I think what we need to do amongst us and probably Ilana is probably decide how it needs to be worded. Maybe get Chuck involved.
Well, that's, what you guys decide on as a committee. And then you don't need a motion on that. You guys can just use that one.
Okay, so we can go ahead and say, yes, we are gonna do the Fire Adaptive base.
Template.
Okay, and then we will get together and we'll figure out how we have to word it and how we have to adjust it to our committee. Business. We have, yes.
Yeah.
So, name,
Jackie Boyd, and I'm on the Planning and Zoning Commission. And so this was my assignment since I'm gonna do the airport too, and they're all kind of wrapped up together in the comprehensive plan.
so in that planning and zoning, is that kind of tied into the Parks Committee too?
No, the planning and zoning is a separate commission.
Okay, so it's, so just P and Z for village,
Right.
okay?
Greg Neverman, so become an Angel buyer for just over 7 years, but became a permanent resident last July.
Okay,
Just interested in seeing the inner workings of how decisions are being made and what the plans are for the future of this village. Plus, I have an issue, I live at 115 El Camino Real,
okay,
and with all the construction traffic and all the contractors coming through and all the dust, it's horrible.
yes.
It's having an impact on our health. And
And-
I just wanted to see if there's gonna be.
And some of that, we have to kind of contribute to the efforts that we put into that road to put
Yeah.
that base coat on there and try to fix the road. And it's next to impossible without the moisture that we have.
Mhm.
I kind of like to turn it over to Kurt because he's the one, I drove that road a couple weeks ago. And I think it's an awesome job you guys did with that road.
It's very smooth compared to
Covering up the slabs of rock and it just so much better. But we're still dealing with that loose base course, which we didn't really have a lot of choice with. But I think if we could get some water would really help us. But I'm gonna turn that over to Chuck because then he can kind of answer your concerns on the dust control and things that we may be able to do to help with that. But it's really hard without us getting any, as soon as monsoons start, hallelujah. But up until then, it might be kind of a struggle for Chuck or for Kurt to try to deal with it because it's not just there. It's the whole village that's kind of in the dust problem. Go ahead, Kurt.
Well, first and foremost, I want to remind everybody, we've got 120 miles of road. Okay. And also want to remind everybody that anytime we've got a motor grader out working, which is every single day, so we've got a water truck with that motor grader. But if we go blade roads without water, it's even worse. Okay, I have one water truck driver. Okay, I understand that after Memorial Weekend, the dust got pretty bad up there. That one water truck driver took his wife and their 5 kids to Disneyland, so we didn't have water for a week. Prior to Memorial Weekend, we dumped thousands and thousands of gallons of water on that road, along with other roads, as we were working on. It's not practical to water every road to keep the dust all the way down. Okay? The other issue is as you mentioned, when we spoke on the phone, that it gets particularly bad in the afternoon when the construction crews are coming down. Okay, streets department, water truck driver works from 7 o'clock in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon. Okay. He is the only driver I have right now that has tanker endorsement that can drive a water truck. Okay. It's to be understood that get the exact same call from somebody that travels Via Grande North and that lives on Via Grande North every day. It's the nature of the beast. We can reopen discussions about additives to the soil, this, that, and the other. I think people have had experience with them. There is a gentleman over on El Bottom that takes it upon himself to dump a few $1,000s worth of mag chloride on the road to control his dust. And it lasts for about 3 or 4 days every time he puts it down. So I'm open to suggestions. I just want everybody to understand the reality of what we have available to us in the way of resources and how committing such resources to just one small area really isn't realistic. We know that one of the great contributors to the dust is the speed at which people travel. And we know that in the afternoons, people coming down, it's pretty fast. We experience it when we're working on the roads. We experience people driving pretty fast down that road as they're heading to work in the morning. People that live up there as well. Plain and simple, people drive too fast on the road. We also know that it's not practical for the police department to focus all of their patrolling efforts on the 2 mile stretch of road from the end of Vale Avenue to Vale Loop. So, definitely hear the concerns. We try to keep as much water on the roads as possible to control the dust. And there are days where we've gotta, basically, if we're just doing dust control, I've gotta plan the blade work around it and hope that they're watering in the same place, but understand that you know, as I said, that we only have so much ability to put water on the road.
And a question on the water. Are we pulling that surface water or are we bringing it out of our rights?
Comes out of our produced water.
So it's
Water
coming out
rights,
of
yeah.
our
Yeah,
acre foot water rights.
yeah, we have there is an opportunity to use treated effluent water. But the wish to build the facility to load trucks with that effluent water, a functional facility. I'm still working on, because it really didn't
So that would be.
fly my first round for my
That would
attempt
be
to get a budget to
liquid
do.
waste from the
I'm
plant.
sorry, I couldn't hear you, I was talking.
Would that be like the liquid waste that's coming out of our plant?
Treated effluent water, yeah,
Okay, so that's
yeah,
the nice name.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it's called outfall. It's what gets dumped in the Senegia Creek anyway.
okay.
It's treated to the point where it's nitrates and everything else is down to an acceptable level, and it's outfalled into the Senegia Creek.
Okay.
We get up to 100 acre feet of return flow credits on that outfall.
Okay.
But that would still we'd still have the same issue where you don't have the people or the equipment to keep up with it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah, the biggest issue is the speed.
It is the speed. We've had so many discussions, from speed limits to, you know, anytime I've talked to chief about, or Lieutenant Strickland about getting added patrols, they've gladly done it. But, I've got to say, particularly in regards with the work crews up there, first person that sees the patrol car calls the rest of them. And it's actually kind of funny. Well, it's not funny, but it's interesting to watch. But
and in one of our last meetings, we had discussed possibly putting monitor cameras up there to where it would put on that sense of the speeds are being monitored, and that might help a little bit. But I've talked to several different places in Louisiana and in Texas that were using a company that was putting those monitor cameras out and found that they were illegal. So they were trying to issue tickets from a snapshot picture from the camera versus your speed versus who's sitting in the driver's seat. Well, they couldn't prove proof of that person sitting in the driver's seat. So we wasn't after it to issue a citation. We were after it to just put out a sense of, we are watching you. And if that would help, it could be worth that investment. You just have it, and then even a sign on the bottom of all of our roads saying speeds are monitored on our roads.
I would ask this committee to invite Chief Jerry Holgrove into our next committee meeting.
Okay,
Any concerns in regards to signage, cameras, enforcement, speed enforcement, coverage, anything, I'm sure he'd be happy to address. I won't speak for him, won't say that,
right.
I mean, my experience is, I call Chief Jerry, let him know traffic's getting out of hand, somebody's up there. They help us out. I try to let him know where we're out working, and they try to make themselves present, but they too have 120 miles plus 434 to take care of, so,
Right.
you know, we're all in the same boat, and,
And you get up
Yeah.
there and there's no locations to really pull anybody over.
yeah.
So that would be a safety factor also.
Well, and, you know, Chief Holgrove is very well aware of the issue that, speed creates to the roads, not just with dust, but, having the roads desegregate and come apart. But we've also had the discussion, he said, well, when the roads are bumped up real bad, people kind of slow down. And he said, well, when you guys make them real smooth, then we get a lot of complaints. I said, well, it's a trade-off. We get the complaints when they're rough. You get the complaints when they're smooth, people going too fast.
Which we have a lot of things on roads, but to target back to the question that was on the floor was how can we help some of these people with the dust problem? And I think you pretty much answered it, some people go into their own pocket and they'll put that mag in front of their house. You've got to use EPA approved things now. You can't just go out there and oil it like we did 50 years ago. We just put motor oil out there and it works so well, but it's not something the EPA is going to go with.
So on any work done on village roads or right away
Has to be.
has to be approved by council.
Is there not a way to put on dirt roads like speed bumps or something that I know you get the potholes and stuff but when you, instead of going and smoothing out the whole road, keep like a certain distance apart, some to at least encourage people to slow down? Or does that make the road worse because they're just gonna go over it fast and cause more
It
problems?
might be more of an annoyance to the locals that need those roads. And we brought that up before. There's cosmetic on roads to make them pretty. And then there's busy, high flow roads that, Via Grande, Mino Real, Spyglass, all those roads are busy roads. And he could spend probably his whole crew every week just taking care of those 3 routes because of the traffic that's on them. But my thing was, I feel that we should target taking care of our employees that come down here and work and help us take care of Angel Fire and the resort versus making a road pretty. Because we can put a lot of money in and we can put some asphalt out in places where it's almost ready for it, like we have discussed the lake, maybe make that asphalt all the way around. It would look really nice. It would really make us look good to a large amount of people, but it's still not going to cater to those people that are working here. And they're the ones, sure, they're tearing the roads up too because they're hurrying down, they're hurrying back because they want to get home. So there's got to be some kind of a solution, and the cameras might be a good direction to go to try to slow people down. One of my philosophies was we could eliminate about half of these stop signs and turn them into yield signs. Because if you don't have to stop that traffic and make that traffic go again, you're not going to have those harsh roads before and after. Because any place you stop and go, you're going to have washboards. The other thing is that we did a lot in all the developments in Pagosa Springs was we had signage saying, please use 4-wheel drive. Because if you put your vehicles in 4-wheel drive, you're not spinning your back tires all the way up the hill, which will really decrease your washboards. It's not going to take them away, but it'll slow them down. And some of the resorts in Pagosa, we figured it was a third of the time those roads would last longer before we'd have to come in and water and cut them and cut the washboards out. So it was adding length of time to them by getting rid of some of the stop and goes. The speed creates it. Climbing a hill and speed just makes it work. And you've expressed that, and we know that, but we've got to take a lot of maybe small steps and see if we can't go in that direction to slowly start getting a handle on some of it, because there's stop signs up here that do not belong here. A lot of them were put back in here when they chip sealed all these roads and they used them for speed control. And then they never took them back out again.
But is it worse where there's stop signs? Because where I see the worst problems are the turns, where people are just skidding around the turns, and a stop sign's not gonna change that.
No, but you're right, but that's because you're probably climbing a little bit and you're spinning your rear tires. And speeding. Speed, it doesn't
Speed is the
matter if you're
big,
going around
speed's the
curve or
biggest
going up
issue
the
of it. And that's, the stop signs is fine, but I don't think that, I don't
Well,
see the
no.
worst. I don't see the worst problem be where people are starting up for a stop sign and I
Right.
see where they're going
But
around
you
the
can
curve.
see where they are, but you can see like, a good example up on, Via Del Rey where it turns onto the top of, Via Grande. That you can tell people ain't stopping at it because it's smooth. But the other direction is rough because they're stopping and going. And those are small cures.
Maybe we could get back on our agenda here. And I need that
Yeah.
gentleman's name back there. I didn't hear it.
Right, I agree with you. We do need to, because we're going into other things that are gonna fall back into our agenda. But for yours, we have the concern and we feel for you for sure. And I know it's so hard on Kurt to try to people handle it. He's got 126 miles of road. He's got there's a lot of residents up there that are feeling the same pain.
Yeah, I mean,
And sir, I didn't get your name.
Craig, Neverman. NEV,
I can't hear.
Greg,
Greg, never.
Neverman. It's NEVERMA.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so that,
One thing I'd like to add, even if everybody maintained a speed limit, the posted speed limit up there, it's not gonna stop the dust.
it's not gonna stop it.
You're still gonna have dust.
So like for my house is 250 feet from the road. So,
Mhm.
you know, and what I have is I am on the part of the road where you have a steep downhill and a sharp turn. So these trucks come hauling butt down there and slamming on the brakes.
Surely flow of wind.
So westerly is actually not as bad. It's the southerly is what's really bad for me.
So the wind's carrying it right.
Carries it right to my house. And it's, like I said, when it's doing that, we can't be outside because it's an
It's just
immediate
bad.
allergy, reaction, headache, all kinds of bad things are
Yeah.
happening to us. So it's bad.
Okay, it's definitely something that we are aware of.
Yeah.
And we know, we understand your concern and we'll do whatever we can to try to come up with some kind of solutions. Because us as a committee, all we can really do is put together our thoughts and ideas that might help. And then we present it up above us to see if we can get monies and find a solution.
Appreciate it.
Well, I just need to kind of finalize it off a little bit. Yeah, there's always gonna be dust. That's part of living in the mountains. But it's significantly less at 15 miles an hour
Versus.
than it is at 45.
Exactly.
And make no mistake.
Yeah.
Some of these roads are close to 25 miles an hour. There are people getting close to 50 miles an hour.
I know.
And that's definitely a different amount of dust that's picked up.
Just look at the pickups in town and they don't have no tread left on their back tires. And you kind of know they're the ones that are.
So just,
spinning all the way up.
Just a quick comment, have you looked into anything like lignite or anything that's a byproduct of wood processing? Cause we use lignin in Santa Barbara on the landfills there, and it's dirt cheap, and it doesn't last very long, but it does last for a few days. With all the timber and the wood processing around here, I was just wondering if it's available around here.
Not familiar with it at all.
Okay, it's just wood set, really.
So we can get more information on it and see if it could be an option.
And so the other thing is that Eagle Nest just purchased radar signs that, you know, show the speed. And they actually have data loggers in them that show, you know, time of day, the number of vehicles that have passed at above a certain speed. They've not put them up yet because the posts are more expensive than the actual sign apparently. But those have complete data loggers in them, and that gives data to give to the chief that, hey, this road is constantly, people are speeding on it, so we need to put a little more attention on here, or we need to do a little more education in this location. The other thing is that, you know, as we get into the dry season, some of these things, the washboards that are especially on downhills with curves are dangerous because the vehicles, you know, no matter what speed they're going, they lose traction and they're bouncing. And I've seen people go sideways, you know, through a couple of turns. I saw a little small car the other day that was sideways just in front of the police station on Halo Pines Terrace there. So yeah, we need to make sure that they're safe. I mean, there's always gonna be washboards, there's always gonna be dust, but
And
just need to make
that's
sure
gonna
that they're
fall
safe.
back to the person that you were telling us about, that we could contact and talk about signage and maybe ways to control.
Well, and that's the thing, these suggestions, you know, the other thing that needs to be discussed, who's gonna pay for it,
Right.
okay? You know, and that's where a committee can offer your opinion on something like cameras that monitor speed. Is that something you feel the police department should pay for, or do we wanna have the streets department pay for it? Streets department benefits from it, but
And could it be go bond versus a grant?
yeah, we'll get to the
You know,
reality
so there's a
of
lot
where we're
there.
at on Go Bond and stuff, you know, but we're gonna be discussing budget in a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, obviously, I know that the washboards going downhill are dangerous. I know that they can happen in a couple of days.
In our busy season, we have a lot of people that live downtown Dallas and they come up here for the first time on these washboardy roads and it's dangerous for them. Because they're not expecting it.
Yeah.
But anyhow, we need to move on to any more questions from our visitors?
No.
Okay. We thank you that you're here. New business. Let's, okay, define arterial and collector road. Okay, we've kind of had this discussion on the amount of traffic that our roads are carrying and which ones are primary, and I pretty much already said the three main roads that carry most of our traffic. And we know that those are roads that we have to look at, but by the time we get an assessment done on a road, like you said with Spyglass, it's not wide enough, so we don't have the easements to where we can put infrastructure under the side of the road. It has to go under the road. And if it has to go under the road, then you're gonna have to find a route around it, detour around it and move all that traffic. And then we have how much infrastructure work has to be done. How much is it gonna take to put that road to a standard where we could pave it all the way up to Via Del Rey? Or there's those issues. And then the money and the funding. Sure, we can do a grant, but according to all the different grants that we have, there's a process that could take 1 to 5 years to get the money that we need. So that's another issue with some of these roads like that. Last year, you guys pulled up the chip seal that was on, behind the grocery store.
So if we could, Mr. Chairman, if we could jump back a little bit.
Oh, go ahead.
And letter A, to define arterial and collector roads. Just, you want to point out that the criteria, what defines arterial or collective is outlined in Title VII, including with a graph that shows requirements for different requirements for collector and arterial roads, particularly with thickness of pavement. For example, a collector requires 3 inches of pavement, where an arterial requires 4. Things
Okay.
like that.
And then,
Road widths are generally the same, but it's a very clear, vague definition on how traffic is determined on roads to, whether they're arterial and collector. I will say that your arterial roads do mirror very closely what is considered your escape routes by the fire department.
Kurt, do you have any, excuse me for interrupting, do you have any idea who established that criteria for asphalt pavement under chapter 7?
I don't.
Just because of the fact that collector road with 3 inches of asphalt, I'm gonna cut it.
now with our.
4 inches minimum, should be a minimum. Whether it's a collector or even an arterial, if you have heavy trucks with 4 inches,
Yeah.
obviously, and you don't have a good base underneath that, we've wasted our money.
Sure, start talking.
Sure, as we've said from meeting 1, if y'all want to get on the website and review Title VII, it's got so much that, a lot of information on the roads and their classifications.
And back on that subject, on this asphalt, 4 or 3 inch, either one, does it have to be curbed and guttered?
The answer is no. Mr. Smiley tasked me with, speaking with, Tappan Mahoney, our on-call engineering service, Dennis Engineering. And I asked him with Spyglass Hill as the example. I said, okay, he's very familiar with it. I said, okay, Tappan, we want to go up Spyglass. We've got road width issues. We've got stretches that meet criteria for requiring guardrail. We got width issues, be really tough to accommodate curb and gutter. And obviously utilities would need to be redone in it. He said that grant money still can be obtained and got for a project that doesn't include full curb and gutter. And that those would be put in as additives on the project. And depending on how much funding that you got would determine whether or not you could achieve those additives or not.
And
Like the guardrail, like the curb and gutter.
which grant that you would have to go after.
Yeah. Yeah, so it is possible to simply just pave a road with grant money. I've always been under the impression that you would have to always do the full. That's what I was told by my predecessor, but that's not the case apparently.
And is that gonna bring an issue to you to not allow your blade operators to drop a blade on asphalt?
Well, that's one of the downsides to asphalt. Yeah, definitely.
You better be good.
Well, we can't put the blade on. So then it ends up with a pretty good layer of ice.
Yeah, because you leave that skin tone.
And especially those that have bad exposure, like, even Spyglass was chip sealed. They didn't put blades on Spyglass for a long time. But it finally got bad enough, I'll put a blade on it. The road's actually better now that we've dumped some gravel and put a blade on it than when we were just maintaining it with plow trucks. That's the thing, anywhere, I know there's the discussion about, has been for 2 years, a lot of people feel that paving El Camino Real would be the best way to contend with that. Understanding the same problems that it has with grades, curvature, and everything else are going to exist when it's covered in ice. Because plow trucks are doing the snow removal and not a blade.
Yeah, and
So
asphalt in winter. Not pretty.
anyway, I believe we're getting off track here,
But
but
that's back to where we understand now with the arterial.
I would suggest a review Title VII and pick that graph apart. Whatever you think it can be changed, be all for changing.
Okay. Any other questions on it?
What's the website where that's at?
Village of Angel Fire.
It's on the village range.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the Title VII. Okay. B, establish a rule for roads, water and sewer projects and polarization. Okay, I'm getting from that we need to kind of priority some of the projects that we need to get in order. Because
100%.
there are some things like the PRVs, we know that they're 90,000 a piece. We know we need one halfway up on both sides to build pressure for the upper houses, which would be nice for those upper people because they're living without pressure. They're getting a little bit of the gravity flow out of the upper tanks, but not,
No, we still have fine pressure. The problem is we have a 20 gallon a minute well feeding a large area.
right,
No, the pressure's fine.
so,
But anyway,
okay. So it's not like we try to boost the pressure for the upper houses and over boost the lower houses. Because I kind of understood that might be part of the reason for the pressure relief valve.
yeah, what it is there's, between where we're at right here and the 1 million gallon tank, there's no PRV. Okay, so the situation that this puts us in is off the 1 million gallon tank, base of the ski area where El Jefe is and all
Is that
the
the one that's gonna go-
condos in that area, the ski school, everything else. Not being able to not having a PRV down here, if we boost the pressure to make it adequate for that area right there, it's excessive right here. So we need a PRV to be able to turn the pressure up at the higher elevation.
Is that related to the Bill Burgess PRV?
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the one, and that's in process. So we could see grant money for that this summer.
I put it in the budget. I haven't seen my budget yet, so
Okay, so you,
I don't know what's approved there.
okay. And that's a fairly install, or do we have to tear up something to get to where it goes? And the Bill Burgess one.
Yeah. yeah, that's a given. You'd have to cut into Bill Burgess and install the bulbs with the PRVs.
kind of back where all that work was done.
It would be down on the lower end.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, we'll,
Okay,
yeah, the footprint of a PRV vault is about a 8x10 vault. At the
Okay.
biggest.
see if I can.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so that kind of gives us an idea there, and it's still gonna be hard for us to just come out and say, we gotta put solid waste first, or we've gotta put sewer first, because we still have roads. Right now, I have to compliment you, because right now I've drove all these roads in the last 5 weeks since our meeting. And I was driving them daily when I was delivering with Alpine. So I know what these roads were. Right now, these roads are as good or better than I've seen them since '94.
Well, I appreciate that,
And
Mr.
I-
Chairman, but I see we could definitely be better. You know, for what it's worth, we just finished up, 5 weeks where I had, one of my better operators tied up on doing the OverX and for the fire station. I was real proud of the other guy to kind of stay on top of things. Do appreciate that, but I think I gotta jump back and think, I'm guessing what's asked here on B is to establish the criteria to prioritize all these different individual things. I know we spoke about it before. You know, one of the things we discussed that needs to be considered and in our criteria for prioritization is the achievability of the project. And we're looking at a sewer line extension. Do we want to first look at what is most achievable?
Would it have to go
You know-
through an assessment to declare that?
Sorry?
Would it have to go through an assessment process to achieve that?
Sure.
Where we can get a total, and then we see total, then we have to look at possible grant money and then turn around to even receive that.
Yeah.
Okay, because that was part of the reason, this discussion right here is the reason that we brought in Julie to really educate us on grants and how they work and how long it takes to get some of them. I mean, some of them are 5 years out. Well, this governing body ain't even gonna be around in 5 years.
But I think they need the guidance on which ones to go out and look to getting grants for. And I think that's the problem. We have a lot of discussion about this piece and this piece and this piece. Is there not data out there somewhere that literally we could start with it as every street, every sewer line, you know, what the level of it is, and somehow create a table that then we can score it and figure out where the problem is. Because coming and saying, oh, Spyglass is bad, oh, this is bad. Well, there's 110 miles of road out there and we're talking about 2 or 3 roads. And if those are truly the ones that are the priority, that's fine. That would make sense if we do that. But it sounds like what we want to do is figure out where the focus should be long term. And I do think there's 2 different things, and that's some point we need to discuss is what's wanted out of this committee for short-term type projects versus long-term. Because to me, it seems like more we want to focus on the long-term, trying to figure out what it is. But we need some way to start ranking those instead of just having a discussion that, oh, the potholes were bad today here.
Yeah.
And then it was all still based on, you can't fix the top of the road if it needs work underneath.
Right. But if we had data that had that information, we
Right,
could then somehow rank it. I mean,
Because-
is there anywhere out there where there's a list of all the streets and kind of what size the water pipes are on it, as well as whether it's eligible for the sewer, right? So we could try and put something together using that information.
and remember, clear back in the beginning, we had some pictures that we were shown.
Right.
That showed all the different color lines that were under the road and how the infrastructure underneath the roads were actually laid out. So
So,
what was under there?
so we either need to get that graph or that map back again and go over it, looking at the things, or even better would be if that graph chart, if it's just pictures that are overlaid, that's one thing. But if there's truly data that's building that, if we could export that data and then
Right.
use that to put the rankings.
And you would be the ideal one for it because you love
I
spreadsheets.
would have no problem doing that if the information's out
Put
there.
us together a spreadsheet where we could really see what it would take per issue. And there's so many of them, right? And that's where it's kind of hard. It's hard for us as a new committee to come in here, because part of it is we still need to get in the seat with you and go ride some of these situations so we can see that pump station, so we can see where the PVRs are going, and so we can see how that sewer plant works and see, educate ourselves more. I've already educated myself so much this year on what goes on in Angel Fire, and I've been here since '94. But I just never knew. Remember, I told you back in the day, I'd help Daryl Benjamin, and we would go from tank to tank, and he would turn the pump on, and I'd be at the tank, and it's like, okay, you're 3/4 full, he'd shut that one off. Then we'd start the next one, and I'd rotate up, and then we would just kind of pump the water up the hill. And we still use that same philosophy, except there's more Wi-Fi now.
So, Mr. Chairman, but again, whether we sit here and try to pick which roads or everything,
Okay,
to start off with, y'all need to discuss what criteria,
okay.
what designates which road should be. Is it dust? Is it full-time residents? Is it snow? Is it steepness? Is it? My number one, always safety. Water projects, is it undersized lines, so forth and so on. So criteria, before you even sit down and try to compile any data, you need to weigh what is the most important criteria.
I think that's if we had the data that's out there, we can then take a look at that and somehow come up with what it is, but trying to come up and put together what we want to weight and what we don't want to weight when we don't have all the information there. Instead, it's just, it's bits and pieces, it seems like has been out everywhere, and having something where we can see it all at one point makes it a lot easier to try and put the criteria together.
I can, like, for instance, I can send you the map that shows what size of water lines on every road, where our valving's at, where PRVs are at, where ARVs are at. Will you understand that map?
I will ask some questions and get to understand it.
It would take some, because even the ones that Santos showed us that one day, it was kind of color coordinated, so you could kind of feel your way through it. But there's so much infrastructure under some of those roads, it's like, my God, is there a fiber line under there?
There's fiber everywhere.
There's fiber everywhere.
Everybody gotta have that Facebook.
Gotta have that.
First, you just need to choose.
I have a question for Kurt whenever.
Go ahead.
The village contracts with Dennis Engineering, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Does Dennis Engineering have a handle or any kind of a outline as to infrastructure needs, where you've got 2-inch, I know you've got 2-inch water lines, say. Do they have a handle, and have they kind of said, okay, this is an area that is important for all of the, particularly your water lines, because we can talk about sewer all you want, but if you only have a 2-inch water line, you don't have a whole lot of worry about sewer. Because all of that is gonna go probably more than likely into a septic system. So the village doesn't have to worry too much about taking, a sewer line up there, but they do have to worry and be concerned about a 2-inch water line that's feeding multiple houses up through there, because if your priority is safety, and I don't disagree with you, that's not safe to have a 2-inch water line, particularly for fire and that type of thing. And I think it's doing a disservice to the landowners, property owners, and particularly the homeowners there that are being fed off 2-inch water lines. So maybe that should be a priority, because if we don't have water there, why talk about sewer?
Mr. Kaiser, it's so good. I mean, you're all familiar with what we're doing at Monte Verde Lake, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We've got, Water Trust Board funding. And on Friday, $5.6 million to do phase 1 of that project.
5.6.
Yeah.
The only reason that I bring that up is because we need to have data, but the engineering firm should have that data.
That's true.
And if
Yeah,
they have
and
that data,
And it's all on the maps. The thing the engineering company is not gonna do is come and say, okay, community of Angel Fire, we think the best place for you to start to replacing undersized water lines is, there.
right, but as long as they have identified all of the different places, then it makes this committee, it makes your job easier, makes the council's job easier to identify particular areas that need infrastructure upgrades.
Yeah. And it's exactly the process that was used when it was decided to pursue Monte Verde Lake subdivision. First and foremost, we thought it was most achievable because we could pair the fire protection narrative with us, or with it, as you have the Aspen subdivision, even Vermejo Circle was part of the PID. You have Valley of the Ute. You have, basically our whole perimeter has fire hydrants that were put in under the requirements in place right now. There's 400 feet. With the exception of two areas, one around Monte Verde Lake and then one on the other side of the highway. In the Luna and Camino Real area, okay? So with able to couple the fire protection narrative to this, need for the fire hydrants, this was also an area that basically all of the water lines were undersized. Proportionally. Now, we have undersized lines spread all throughout. We have close to 48 miles of undersized lines. This initial 5.6 million is gonna take care of less than 3. Okay,
It's a start.
it's a start.
So where's that 5.6 million come from?
Water Trust Board. That's 90% grant and 10% loan. It's 0.25% interest.
Okay, so back to B. Pretty much with what our discussion was with sewer, we can really probably put it clear down as 3 on the list of those road, water, sewer projects.
Okay,
Okay? We had already discussed, the roads are really in pretty good shape right now for what you have for a crew to take care of roads. I'm almost thinking that maybe water should be up there fairly high.
Yeah.
Maybe the PRVs, or we already know the bridge or Burgess things in process, so we know that's gonna happen. But, maybe water needs to be kind of up on that list, so even with us as a committee, we still need to understand water a little better. Because we know you've got the pumps and everything that we've learned as a committee, we've gotten from you. And that's the only source we really have. And until we can start traveling with you and seeing some of this stuff in process, it's hard for us to just assume that that should be up there because we don't know.
well,
Yeah,
I'd like to try to,
I was gonna, on the PRV problem is absolutely huge because if we're over pressurizing areas or under pressurizing areas because we're trying to keep the lower areas at the right pressures, we've lost any fire protection by having low pressures. We have the potential of blowing out people's houses and valves and fixtures throughout the entire community. So the PRV issue is absolutely paramount in my mind, more so than anything else, because it can lead to absolutely massive problems throughout the village if we don't get the pressures right within the houses, that those fixtures within the houses can handle it. If you put 100 PSI on the houses, it's not going to handle it. The fixtures won't handle it. It's got to, unless it's got its own PRV to protect itself. So, you know, the PRV system to me is something that is really got to be looked at, and it's got to be a highest priority to get the pressures right on the system, regardless if the lines are the right size or not. The pressures have got to be right.
Mr. Smiley, are you gonna be an Angel Fire anytime soon?
I don't have a schedule for that at the moment. I am traveling again to Scotland in end of this month. So I'm not sure I'm gonna make it up there before that.
Just look forward to
I'm
giving you a
hop-
tour. this summer.
Hmm?
Really look forward.
No,
Okay, so
I've been having some medical issues and different things and traveling, and so I've been a little out of the way, out of pocket
I hope you
recently,
get.
but I
Best
will,
wishes.
you are, Kurt is
luck.
100% correct that the PRV issues are just so overwhelming that we can cause so much more damage with pressures than you can with almost anything else other than a wildfire.
Well, rest assured, it's something that we constantly monitor. But it's areas that we're teetering on what I'd call the higher threshold of pressures. That caused me to want to add another PRV. That's one project, and yeah, it's 90K, but it's a very small part of what we need to do to fix everything that's going on with this water system.
Did that fall into?
We also, I mean, it needs production, distribution and supply, storage. And, sorry, we can have fire hydrants every 200 feet if we don't have a big enough tank full of water.
So for us to put in a PRV, does that have to go through an assessment?
There'll be engineering involved.
So
Yeah,
there
we
will
gotta
be
verify
engineering.
the pressure zones
And
and
that would give
Yeah.
us more information, and could that fall into a co-op grant? Or where would that have to fall for funding?
a co-op might be able, that'd be a question for Julie.
So that would be something. that
We usually use that
really
funding
happen within a
for
year.
backup or plan and design to seek our TPF funding, but, there's also, the discussion will need to be had about whether, we want to go for more Go Bond dollars. So if we get to that agenda item, I can brief you on where we're at on the Go Bond dollars.
Okay.
Just a quick comment. I mean, B is established criteria for roads, water and sewer projects. It's not just to do roads projects or sewer projects or water projects. It's to establish the criteria for all of them. And my feeling is that we establish a safety criteria, a cost criteria, and achievability criteria, and then rank these projects. And your ICIP should have a lot of those projects in it already that we can go through and rank, correct?
Yeah,
So I think getting the data to be able to rank those would be great. If we base it on that, the safety, the cost, and the achievability, those are the three biggest criteria that we have, I think.
how are you gonna rank safety?
Immediate life and danger, I mean,
No, I mean,
yeah, no, I understand.
let's say we were in a pinch.
It's just one of the grading points in the whole criteria.
Yeah, I know, but it's something that is absolutely overlooked when discussion is had about everything from working on roads to doing snow removal. You know, and everybody will say, yeah, we want to do the safest one. Okay, which is the first road to plow snow?
That's why I think if you don't know, you don't,
Exactly.
obviously with the plow snow, the
So,
road,
yeah.
a lot of that, there's other things that you can put into
So
that,
maybe
what the
get-
traffic.
Getting them out laid out and identifying real high profile. I've seen 6 accidents here in the last 2 years, that kind of thing, or what?
That could go into
I
it.
don't know what kind of data chief might have. That might show number of accidents.
That's part of it, but I think to me, the starting point is having the information out there, ignore the accidents at this point. Right now, I couldn't tell you every road in Angel Fire, right, the name of every road, how many houses are on it, what the water line is on those roads, you know, under
Yeah.
those roads. Which ones have sewage possibility or currently have sewage. Having all of that information together, you can then start putting together some sort of a 1 to 5 ABC, simple ranking systems to start trying to weight it somewhat, doing it. And you talk the safety thing. Yeah, if the safety thing, anything safety related we look at, we think is the highest priority of something, well, then you give it a higher score on the chart to see where it weighs in. And if safety is a thing that we know is the main issue, well, there's really not a point in having this conversation because it just means that if there's any safety issues that are out there, those should all be fixed. Everything else just comes in after the fact. And that may be the case, but
Whatever you guys get put together. I'll help you with any information I can,
Okay, that,
One of
but
the
I'm
things,
sorry, I'm not gonna make the call on everything. I'm not gonna.
that's not at all.
Counting on you guys.
That's literally what I'm asking is for the data that then we
Yeah.
can, yes, we'll need information from
Tell me
you.
what data you need and I'll do my best to get it.
If there is anything out there that has a list of the roads in Angel Fire, which ones are paved, which ones aren't. I think you could go down to what are the water lines underneath it, what the size of the lines are underneath it. And if there's anything that has the number of residents, businesses on those roads, right, or how much water they generally use, things like that. I think the other thing that we've had discussion on it in the past with some of the, when you're talking about doing things around the lake, that there may be 2 or 3 different things that as you're going and pulling the roads up, having to, before you go pave them, you'd have to go fix the sewer lines, kind of. If you have something where that's all in one place, it gives you at least a starting point with it. Rather than just this road over here comes up in conversation, this road over here comes up in conversation. I don't know whether you guys agree or not, but that's kind of my feeling on where we've been with the discussions.
So we gotta start somewhere because I bet, it gets something because, I mean, item E, ICIP, that meeting's Thursday. And we got nothing as a committee to throw out there for suggestions. There's stuff on there. Hopefully it'll change, but priorities seem to change
And there's,
to the point where we're not staying focused on our goals.
and I think one thing that's kind of pressuring us a little bit as being a new committee is some kind of a report for council to let them know that we're at least trying to make an effort on what it's going to try to take to do the tasks that we signed up to do. Because it's kind of overwhelming and a lot of times we're falling it back on you because you know it. And we don't.
Yeah,
I don't like why we fall back on you as much as we do, Kurt.
I get that, but I cannot make the decision on my own. I'm capable of, I will. I've had no problem doing it the last 2 years, but it's doing what I
But if we
feel is
don't
right.
understand what you know, it's hard for us to come up to give you something that's just gonna shoot out because we didn't understand one part of it.
Yeah, but I fully agree with trying to get it, and I struggle with this with the very first, when I first took this job and, it's tried to start a roads committee and there was a lot of talk about the data. And and I'm all for that. I can understand it can give something for somebody to see that's tangible. But I've yet to have anybody give me the proper answers. How are you going to compile this data and the strategy and make it adjustable with the ever-changing conditions? Okay. Best way to put this into perspective is, snow's 8 inches. Where do you start?
Say I do.
Yeah, but here's the question. What time did it start snowing? Is it a wet snow? Is it a dry snow? What's the outside temperature? Is the wind blowing? How much snow was already on the ground? Okay, the point being is that we're never gonna be at a point where we can sit down here and I'm gonna give you a list. Okay, this road's gonna be done first. This one's gonna be done second. This one's gonna be done third. Okay? Because we're dealing with Mother Nature.
So I agree with it, but that is more of a short term. At the moment, what are things like? That's much different than trying to put together prioritizing, and that's kind of where I got to the short term versus long term projects, right?
Yeah.
If that's something that you want us to have some discussion on the short term, like the snow plowing stuff, that's one thing. But to me, it's more the long term stuff is where the ranking stuff looks better. I'm confused what you would be looking for from us when it comes to snow plowing. Prioritizing, that is something that it's a spur of the moment type thing based on all the factors at that point. And trying to have a committee like this come up with something as that is probably not the right place.
The long-term planning is precisely what we need this.
Yeah, and so that's where I think the data comes in helpful. So I want to make sure we're separated on that. Because you bring up the example of snow plowing, but that really, I don't think is something that they're looking, maybe I'm wrong. But I don't think that's what the council is looking for from us.
Yeah, but the the other, I mean, we can beat this to death, but I'm absolutely stating the obvious. But also need to get over in long-term planning, the impression that once a road is fixed and it's paved and it's all nice, that it's good forever.
It's not, and that's why if you have a ranking system that you can adjust and update as time goes on, if a road's fixed, its score changes on something.
Yeah.
And then maybe it gets reviewed by whoever happens to be on the committee in the future. If you set something like that up with the flexibility in it, that it's not a one-time snapshot, it's something that you can use and update as time goes on.
Send me an email of data that you'd like to have and I'll gather as much of it as I can.
Okay.
It'd probably be better to supply you with a flash drive with some of the prints and plans.
I think it would benefit all of us because it'd give us something to actually touch and feel and see. Because we can talk about roads that you know, but we're not gonna remember it.
Okay.
We can't.
Well, to put into perspective, the map that shows all the different water line sizes,
Uh-huh.
if we printed it to the point that you would be able to see the colored lines.
Yeah.
And read what they
We
were
have to be
with
perfect.
good glasses. The map goes from here to the corner.
To be able.
So you're gonna be viewing these maps on a computer.
Right, because I know the one that Santos showed us, it was in the program and you could zoom in on sections. And you could really, you could get a feel for it. It was hard for us because we had that one monitor to really see it.
Yeah,
But I understand and I agree with Chris. I think-
yeah, but we're gonna get it on the computer and
So let's pass on B, because I think we've discussed it plenty. It's still hard to say that we came up with an answer. Because I think we're still back at water. You know, but let's leave B alone, let's move along to C, and that's gonna be received beneficiary regarding the availability of village budget, including general fund, flow bonds, and potential grants.
Okay,
So,
so what I did, Mr. Chairman, is that I sent you all, basic, end of year budgets up to, through 6/30 of 25, last fiscal year. Didn't include anything of this current fiscal year, as getting towards the end of the year, it'd be a little, it could be a whole meeting all in itself, explaining it. But fiscal year does end, the last day of this month. Interim budgets, I'm told, have been completed. I did ask to be able to show this committee proposed budgets for this fiscal year. I retracted that. I didn't think it was real kosher. I think getting them out to anybody before our first public hearing, I don't think that's good form. So that first public hearing is supposed to be the 25th of June, I believe. But they set the meeting on. Don't have a time yet.
okay. And a lot of that, we really educated with Julie when she kind of went over.
Yeah.
Because it really opened up the window for us to understand.
Now, these reports are operating budget.
Yeah, where is this has nothing to do with water and sewer, because those budgets,
This
that's
is-
not here, that's a different funding.
This is just streets. Okay.
Just three.
So I'll send you all the budget reports for the water department. We'll tell you that, as of this morning, streets department is down to unencumbered, just less than $100,000 in gold bond funds.
Until
For
when,
halfway through.
until when, what date? What's the fiscal year? Is it a fiscal year or calendar year that's under?
That's the 2025.
Fiscal year, 1 July.
1 July.
Yeah.
Okay.
But until we get another go bond issue, that's what we have to work with. I think there was $1,200 left on the 2023 go bond.
That's your payroll, your repairs, everything.
Now, this go bond doesn't cover any payroll.
Okay.
Go bond dollars are used for projects. Plan and design or materials and
Okay.
equipment for projects.
So what you said, Kurt, is out of all the go bond years, we have 100,000 left at this point unencumbered.
For streets, yes. I hope the discussion is had soon. Whether to do the go bond.
Is that just rolled into this budget? Almost all the
No,
items?
this is all, this all comes out of general fund.
Okay, so this doesn't have anything to go. Actually, yeah. So just a quick question, what was the other contractual services that you didn't spend, you only spent 3% of it or 2.3%?
Which year?
2025, 24, 25. You have a contract that you didn't execute or something in
No, what,
It's the $992,000.
yes, it was, dollars that were spent to pave South Angel Fire Road and Aspen Street. Those were paved last summer, last June. Okay, so they were paved in June.
So that was the 20.
The
This year's budget.
the bill was paid in the following fiscal year, so they had to put that number to balance it out.
Okay. Just looked kind of strange that
Yeah.
you only spent $20,000 on it.
Okay, we have any more questions? Let's see.
Well, real quickly, I was looking through the years and it looked like the first year you sent us, the tally that you gave us was like $1 million or 900,000. And then next year it was 1.4 and 1.7 and now it's 5. Congratulations on getting 5 million. I just was curious how the budget could grow that quickly.
Well, 2024, when I took the job, the Village of Angel Fire was pretty flush with cash.
Good.
During COVID and other things or whatever, a lot of communities held on to cash. But it became a problem in seeking grants. Their cash position was too good, so we spent
Gotcha.
dollars down to get that. I will say that I'm pretty confident that this fiscal year, I won't be having no $5 million to spend.
I wish you could keep it going. That was great.
Yeah. We just need it to snow more skiers to come.
Okay,
I did,
thank you.
I
I thought it might be something like that.
I went back to 22 so I could show, where we were as a village in regards to streets at one point and where we were able to get to for the last couple of years. But for obvious reasons, we're not looking at as big of a budget this year, plain and simple.
That covers C.
What was the budget that you put in for this year?
I haven't seen it yet. I know that sounds confusing, but I don't complete the final budget. I'm just asked about certain.
Yeah, you've gone through some numbers.
And the rest of the budget is generated for me. It's first time for me, never dealt with it.
You'd gone through some numbers in February of what you were asking for, right?
With that,
This meeting in February, you'd gone through some numbers of what you were asking for.
yeah. Yeah, those were wish list line items. We'll say that most of the ones for water look like they may have survived. Again, I haven't seen the interim budget. I asked again today if I can hopefully see it before I have to present it to the public.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, we're required to have 2 public hearings on the budget. And the interim budget has to be submitted by June 30th. And then the final budget, 30 days later. So, the budget's not released until it comes to council. And there's public hearings and then it'll be released.
And that'll have to be before the 30th.
We're
Probably the
scheduled,
day after.
we're scheduled for
Okay.
the first meeting was tentatively scheduled today for the 25th. I believe it's at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
We'd like people to show up for that if you have the time.
And that's here.
Well, I'm excited to finally have a couple folks show up for the roads committee.
Yeah, that's awesome first.
Yeah, really.
Okay, are we pretty good with C? And D is kind of confusing to me because we're almost looking at D and B being really close to the same target. Prioritize up to 5 road, water and sewer projects each. That's almost everything we covered with B when we were talking about priorities on sewer water road. So down here, 5 roads. Okay. One, for instance, I feel that there's a small project that would probably go bond, where we would have access to money, is the road Elliott Barker Lane from the highway to at least the medical clinic. Because there's ambulances on that, there's hurt people that have to ride on that rough road. I live down that road, so I know how rough it can get. And I mean, there's times we're driving on the shoulder because that washboard's so bad from the highway back to almost where the condos are. I don't know if that project would have to be from 434 all the way to the cul-de-sac on Elliott Barker, or if that could be to the medical clinic, and would it have to be curb and gutter?
We'll do it all the way to your house.
Oh, you can make the turn.
Now come up with 4 more.
Oh,
Okay,
John,
let's do this, as an exercise. All y'all just come up with 5 roads to redo, 5 places to redo water line, 5 places you'd like to see sewer.
I would suggest.
But
that-
I'm saying what y'all come up that are small, that we can squeeze them in without having to go to a year-long grant. Because it would really be nice if we could have something to present to council. Because this committee, we've been a half a year now that we've really been established. And we still don't really have anything to council. I know I talked to Chuck a little bit about being at the council this and do a report. Because it would be nice if we can give a report because we're a fairly important committee.
Yeah.
I mean, we're right up there on top and it would really be good if we could have something. I told Chuck, if he needs, he can talk to council and kind of let them know where we're at and what we're doing. So it's not like we're just visiting, or I can do it. I should do it probably because I'm the chair. But even if I go in there and introduce who we are, just so council realizes that we're here and we are putting out an effort to try to get things for them. But right now, there's so many things involved with us having assessments and have everything all in this little box and say, we have this one. Would you work on this and try to get it approved for us? But we're still too green to have that box built.
So, Mr. Chair, if this committee can come up with as many as 5 in each of those 3 areas, then village staff can determine where the funding will come from. So we don't have to be as concerned about that. We need to focus on what you think the needs are.
So they can kind of look at it and then they would be the one that would order the assessment and then they could get told.
For this coming budget. And then as we look at long-term and we do the things this committee's talking about for the budget for next year, we'll be ready.
Okay. That helps
You can't do it without the data.
because
So
that's, there we are right back.
But
You're
right
right back,
now,
right back to, we need information.
So
In order to do that.
And that's why I keep telling Kurt, it's like, he's got the information in his head that we need. Literally,
Tell me
because if we knew,
I'll see what I can put together.
I know. I know.
I can
and
understand
I know it's frustrating for you because you don't want to be the one that really pulls the decision on something that we're talking about. But you're the one that kind of has the final say because you understand what it needs to be.
Well, make no mistake,
I know.
if y'all get together as a group and I see you going down a road that I don't agree with,
Right,
I'll let you know.
And
But
that's-
I'm not gonna just sit back and
And
expect
tell us what
somebody
to
else to
do,
do
then
it.
why are
But
we-
if you guys head down on a good road, if you're heading on the right path, then you'll get everything I've got support of,
okay,
okay? But I'm always gonna ask the tough questions.
It goes right back to item A, define arterial and collector roads for 5 road projects.
So can I just,
To me,
go ahead.
if you don't focus on the arterial roads first, then it's a mistake.
100%, absolutely right.
So, Kurt, if I could ask, would you reiterate the 3 phases of North Angel Fire Road before we stand?
Okay, North Angel Fire Road, we have, broken into 3 sections. So from Vale Avenue up to Five Springs. Five Springs starts basically where that transverse drop inlet is.
Mhm.
That work includes repaving, but also the, assessment on the storm drain that's in place was not very favorable.
Right,
So that's added another $500,000 that we're gonna need to come up with for that phase of the project.
that was minor.
Yeah. And then, you have the very bottom section, which is from Highway 434 to Winter Park Lane. Our second priority. And the third, I'm sorry, let me take that back. That's the third priority. Second priority is from Winter Park Lane up to Vale. We have not had the assessment done on the storm drain on the center section of Vale yet.
can I just make a
Go ahead.
comment? So to me, I would be very, very cautious about prioritizing up to 5 roads without establishing that criteria of what we're prioritizing them based upon. Because you don't want the village, people going through and coming up with funding for projects that don't really meet the criteria when we get the criteria put together. So I think our first step is that we establish that criteria. I think the council will be very happy with that. The capital improvement projects, you've already prioritized them essentially on the capital improvement projects, if I understand the ICIP correctly, right? So we can endorse those that you've already prioritized on the ICIP. Then we can start prioritizing the other ones that are on the ICIP based upon criteria that we establish. So we gotta go step by step so that we're not just spinning our wheels and going backwards and going in other ways. So my suggestion is that number one, we establish that charter and we get that charter drafted so that we let the council know what we're doing. And then number 2, we establish the criteria for the roads. It's been years since I've looked at the criteria for arterial and collector roads, but I think the only arterial road that we have that meets all the criteria is 434. So,
Well, I would add there's a few more roads than just 434, but they're relatively short. I would argue that North Angel Fire is arterial and things. Yeah, there's a few others that I would throw into the arterials that are necessary for the community that most of us use.
we'll have to look at that.
I've written down 5 already, roads that I consider arterial. You've got North Angel Fire Road.
Yeah.
You've got El Camino Real to Vale Loop, which is a trouble spot, always has been. You have Spyglass going the other direction. You have Via Grande North going this way. And you have San Mateo to Villa del Rey. Because all of those roads feed other collector streets and go up the mountain both directions.
Why El Camino just to Vale Loop? Why not all the way through to?
Because once you get to the top of Vale Loop, that road kind of smooths out some. And I think gravel kind of takes care of it until you get to Royal. And then going up El Camino through that Royal area, you've got another issue. But just as a short-term but long-term type view, if the village can handle all the way to Vale Loop, that takes care of a lot of the, one, dust issues, safety issues because of your washboarding and stuff, and the steepness of that road through there.
Yeah.
The only thing, and once you get to Vale Loop, there's one, you can turn off on Panorama, you can go to multiple, roads there without going on up Royal and on up into El Camino Real, and you have less people and less homes up in that area. And so your concentration of people living in that area is smaller once you get up past particularly Panorama.
Where you know, any of y'all know where our heaviest concentration of new builds is right now?
Yeah, I do.
Randy, would you say those
That's why I
five?
see all trucks all the time.
More things with El Camino.
Happy Way alone, there's 7
Yeah.
projects in process right now.
Right. I know, I've been there. We do all the inspections.
You're
I'm
missing
the
some
chairman of the architectural
I'm
committee.
just kidding. So in your opinion, when you're going up Royal Avenue, is it better in a big truck to continue on Royal or go down Vista del Sur?
Most of the people that, the construction vehicles turn on Panorama instead of going up Royal and making that 90-degree bend. They go Panorama to Cheerful Way and then back in that direction.
Because all the trucks I follow go, we call it Kermit's Road. That steep part of Royal right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Even though there's a flatter, smoother alternative, the trucks are going up that road. And we're, as I mentioned, okay, let me jump back to working on the fire station. One of my top hands right now is a guy named Theodore Mace, that I needed on this project. He's also the guy that's breaking in on the blade, taking over El Camino Real for Mr. Vasquez, the operator we have out, who's ill. He's doing a pretty good job. Now that I'm done with the fire station, he's gonna be on El Camino Real a little more regular. He had a bit of catching up to do. Once we're able to get onto it. But he did some good work up there on Thursday and Friday. Probably be starting all over on it again tomorrow. It's a weekly thing. We're on El Camino Real.
mhm.
One guy is about all I can commit to that road right now. And water when he's available. I'll bounce the water between him and the other blade operator. Okay? So all I can promise you is that we'll do our best. I will say that even with a smaller crew, that road's in a lot better shape than it was on this day last year.
That is
It
true.
was
No doubt.
horrible last year. We lost control of it. We got working on other things, and I did not keep an element up there staying on top of it, and we got rolled. And not gonna get in that situation again.
So we've got a kind of an established list of those 5 that we're really.
And that's just the list I came up
And
with that I consider arterial.
And-
By the criteria in chapter 7, they may not be arterial roads.
I believe they are. I'm sorry, I'm just going off of memory. You know, like I said, it's the same escape route plan map that the fire department uses. Mirrors what I feel should be labeled arterial roads.
Okay, so
Some
we
don't.
all know what your list was. And I think everybody on this committee realizes everyone that you have on that list is an important road. Maybe you can't call it a arterial, but it's still roads that are carrying most of our heavy traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And especially North Angel Fire Road. That one probably carries more traffic than any of them. Because people are going to that ski mountain, they're going to the hotel. You got the bikes all summer, you got the skiers all winter. That road carries a lot of traffic. And you have to take that road to get to Camino Real. So that road is probably number 1 when it comes down to it, and it comes apart. We've seen it fall apart. A few years back, when Joe had to do that emergency patch job there by the fire station, it was because people were getting hurt hitting potholes.
Yeah.
I had a situation I won't even go into, but it was dangerous. I seen a little kid almost bite the tip of his tongue off because they hit a pothole up there and they were trying to figure out how to stop this kid's mouth from bleeding. And I went right to Joe's office and I raised him. But
Yeah,
that's.
in more of a in more of a subjective way, it's also the road that is our face to the community outside of Angel Fire. North Angel Fire Drive is a road that every visitor coming to our community drives. That needs to be in a great shape because that is who we are in all their minds. That's why they come back here.
Totally agree. Totally agree. That represents Angel Fire. And if we don't represent Angel Fire, we're gonna be in this anti-growth thing that we've been in for 30 years. You know, a lot of people say, well, it's gonna explode, it's gonna explode. How is it gonna explode without restaurants? I mean, there's more issues than just roads or water or sewer that kind of hold Angel Fire back. And I'm sorry to say that, but it's out of our control on a lot of things that could or should happen here to really make it a red river. And I don't know if you'd ever get to that point. The project over here with the lake and the boardwalk around the water and that old plan that was back in the 90s, Kurt's probably seen it. But there was a really nice layout on what they wanted to do over here on the other side, back behind the real estate office. That was all gonna tie in Frontier Park, everything, and it would made a central spot for Angel Fire. It would give the lady shoppers a boardwalk. It would give businesses that would have had shops, it would have been, it probably would have been what really made Angel Fire bloom. But I've watched it, and I've watched it. Got two choices for dinner, Debs or Zebs. You know, and I hate saying that, but now it's getting so pricey that, I mean, I heard some contractors told me this morning, you can't afford to do lunch here. You can't. The bakery got so high, it just got unaffordable and it's just hurting us, but it's out of our control. So we know what we need to do with D. And that's gonna come down to the 5 of us. Okay? We already got a really good start on those arterial roads. The water, we already know that the PRV is really high on that list. We just know that, you know, and we've heard it over and over. So the PRV is a really important thing. I don't know how we are with our booster pumps and how everything's working out, pushing water up. But it's working
Best
good.
$1 million this town ever spent.
And that's what we needed to hear. So really, the PRVs is really the issue with our water. Sewer, part of it came up earlier about if you can't get the water up there, you don't have sewer. You know, so those are kind of tied together. So sewer is so, what is it? You said we were maybe at 20% at what our plant can handle.
Yeah.
So we're not even getting the use out of our sewer plant that we really should be for the investment that it cost us to put it there. Back when I was a builder, I bought this village to hook to the sewer line. And their answer to me back in late 90s, if we let you, we have to let everyone. It was a lot cheaper for me to put in a little pump station and pump it up to that sewer line that was on Via Del Rey than to put in a septic system. And I'll guarantee you, living down here in the bottom on a well, that week between Christmas and New Year's, it affects my water. Because we're saturating our aquifer with sewage. Because there's so many sewer systems or leach fields in this area. 3/4 an acre, all you need. And you put in a leach field. At least they used to ask for a perk test. They don't even do that anymore. But those are just issues that are out of our control, and it really ties our hands with our sewer. Can we invest the money to get everybody hooked up to sewer and make our plant more efficient? That would probably really be a good thing to have high up on our list, is to get that more efficient. People are paying so much money for sewer. I heard rumor that if you have sewer, they take your water bill and triple it. And that's what you pay for sewer. I don't know if that's fact or not. Golly.
It's not tripled.
I know. When I heard that number, it's like, that can't be. You know, and that was the only way that they could generate any money from sewer because there's so little amount of people
On
that
that
are.
nice little website. Resolution, current sewer prices.
Yeah. So that kind of comes into that prioritizing too. Sewer is a valuable thing to this village if we can get it functional and way above 20%.
Yeah.
You know, and then if we can get a system set up to where we can pull that gray water out of there and use it on roads, hallelujah. Then we're kind of a win-win. You know, we're dual purpose that. I know we had talked about a line from the sewer plant all the way up to the back basin. And I think we were talking about using it for snowmaking. But it was not feasible cost-wise to try to pump it up there. It would be cheaper to put it in a well.
Getting easements through there were the biggest challenge.
Yeah, and it probably would be, but I think with us as our committee, these are little ideas I think that we really should try to target where we can make what we have a little more efficient. You know, roads, you did such a good job on it. It really kind of brought it down a little bit for what we need to be doing. I know there's a lot of it that still needs to be high on the list and we need to do infrastructure. We need to fix the tops of them, but don't fix the tops until the bottoms are fixed. You know, or you're gonna go back like Bill Burgess and have to dig a hole and put it in PRV. Where could or should have been in the original.
Obviously, the PRV would come before.
Yeah.
I mean, if we got funding for phase 3 of Bill Burgess Boulevard, it'd be a guarantee we'd come up with the money to put that PRV in.
Yeah.
Before we paved it.
Okay, so let's go ahead and slip past 5 because we know what we need to do for council. Is that one that we can give them and kind of give them a prioritized list of roads that we'd like to target. And we already know PRVs are high with that. Sewer, we can just throw a little one in there on future better percentage of use. You know, if we could get that sewer plant doing it what it was designed to do. I mean, it cost a lot of money to put that sewer plant up there. So let's go ahead and move along to E, discuss infrastructure capital improvement projects. ICIP priorities.
I just wanted to mention, I wasn't being rude, that's what I was looking for with the meeting time. On Thursday, the 11th at 4 o'clock, there's a council work session,
And you said that's
And it's-
the 25th?
the 11th. This meeting's on the 11th. This is to discuss the ICIP.
Okay, and it's 11 o'clock.
No, sir, 4 o'clock on June 11th.
Here. That'll be going over this year.
Parking.
Okay.
That's the only day I don't have a meeting or something else going on, so I'm not gonna put another one in there all week.
Come on, Mr. Kaiser.
Yeah.
Getting soft on us.
No, I'm supposed to be retired.
Real tired.
That means tired all over again, right? Just read.
Okay, do we have any other questions on that?
Yeah.
So we've got through all of our lists. I think we've had a good meeting. I think that there's a lot of points that came up that were really important. And I think what it's getting to is the 5 of us, Smiley, and the 5 of us that are sitting here. It's time for us to really kind of start taking more in charge and try to come up with stuff amongst us. Even if we have to get together sometimes between us, like to sit down and talk about on a spreadsheet and a way to get information from Kurt and start getting all this information that we would really have as a tool to help us do the decisions that we want to do. Because those are the things that we're going to have to present to council, and it's going to have to look pretty good. You know, for them to be interested enough to fund it.
I think initially, just some kind of update, basically, you know, a little update stating that you're discussing some long-term goals, long-term goals on projects and discussing the criteria on how to prioritize these things. That's a little update like that, I think would go a long ways.
Yeah.
It'd be really nice to get some more participation in these meetings.
Easy for them to understand that we are him.
Mhm.
We are all very talented and experienced. Our backgrounds are strong.
Mhm.
I mean, what more could we ask for a committee?
So, Mr. Chairman, if I can suggest, we could call that a work session for the committee where we just, sat down, rolled up our sleeves and not an agenda like this, but
Right, and just talk more about how we can put our information that we have together and use it in a direction that's gonna go to council.
right.
And then it takes a lot of pressure off Kurt, because I understand where he's at too. But it's hard for us not to feed off of him because of his knowledge. And the only way we can get that knowledge, I've learned so much from you this year. Unbelievable. Unbelievable what I've learned, and I'm sure a lot of us have too. We didn't understand a lot of things about what's going on under these roads or PRVs or where they need to be there, why they have to be there and a lot of things. But I've learned so much now. I'm loving it because it's exciting for me, because the more I can learn about what we're trying to do, the more I like it. Because if we can organize ourselves to make our two functions work, and that is infrastructure and roads. I've heard so many people compliment Kurt because they found out I'm the chair with the roads committee. They're thanking me for what you've done, and that's why I tried to tell you earlier. There's a lot of people that appreciate it. There's a lot of people that don't like you, and I know there's a lot of
Yeah, I guarantee you, I make sure of that.
and I know there's a lot of that on edge. When they offered me the position of road superintendent, why in the hell would I want to do that? I have friends here.
Well,
And sometimes that position has to be the bad.
I really appreciate what you're saying, but obviously that's all possible with great support from the mayor, the manager, absolutely council.
Exactly.
I joke with Mr. Howell, one of these days, he's gonna tell me no. And it's just gonna crush it. It's just gonna crush it. But no, but everybody needs to know, we have some challenges ahead of us
We do.
financially, okay?
Well,
That's the name of the game. The ski seasons, couple bad ski seasons, slow down. Police department is very dependent on gross receipts tax. Water department, the reason why I didn't present their budgets this time around is that being an enterprise, I wanted you to start off looking at something a little more simple first. I know I'm sure all of y'all are gonna be much better at reading that budget than I am. But enterprise fund is a different animal, and that we still are able to accomplish quite a bit as long as we do a good job on, because as Brett says, from this point moving forward, we will kill. Okay, so what we make in water department still gives us the opportunity to do a lot of good things. But there are some significant projects out there that we're gonna need to get funding for.
Right. And then it's important that we learned how that funding is, deadlines, and how long it could take first. I mean, go on would be, because that's quick and easy. But down the line, it's just gonna take longer. The more money you want, the longer it's gonna be.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, so I've got
Go
two
ahead.
action items that I recorded. One is that we need to draft a draft of the
Right.
charter. And is there anybody that's gonna be working on that, or are we
Okay.
assigning it to
Somebody
somebody?
put together 2 or 3 of us that wants to sit down and just basically rewrite it. But I've got an office at home. We could get a couple of us to sit down there and we can just start at the top and type it in the way we want it to be in writing. Because we've got the basis on what the charter has to be and how it has to be wrote. So I would be willing for any of you guys, Randy, you're always wanting something to do.
So two of you could do that to start with. Two of you.
Two of us would be good. Pat?
Yeah, so, the other,
It's fine. Let me know what works for you. What time.
Okay,
I'm happy to sit down and go.
between the three of us, we'll set us a time and date, because I think if we sit down and just start from the top line and start typing it in, and it probably would take us about an hour, hour and a half, and we should be able to have it rewrote.
And did you want this space for a work session to do that?
We
Or you're gonna?
could, but it's almost easier for me to sit at my keyboard and my
That's fine.
computer and just do it right there.
Just do it on Zoom too.
And we could do that also, but I mean, we could just read it word for word and take out what needs to be gone and put in what needs to be there.
Do we at least have Word documents of this or just PDFs? Because it'd be good to have a Word document.
Because
that kind
mine
of
used to be already Word.
Right, but I like the agendas or the charters that we have. I think these were all PDFs. Is there anything where there's?
I can convert it and send it to you. It's not a big deal.
So then we'll just plan on that. We will just, between Pat and I and Chris, we will work on getting that taken care of. We've got everything else.
so the other,
Actually,
the other action item was the, putting together some criteria for establishing the criteria. You kind of volunteered to start,
Yeah, I can start doing that.
put some data together.
I'll send Kurt an email, kind of saying what's available for data.
With us, you guys,
Once I can see the data, it's easier to figure out how to start
Right.
setting the criteria.
and we could start with our top 5 roads. You know, and just see what's there, and then have a better understanding on it's ready.
And the third action item that I had was to review Title VII and see what the definition in Angel Fire is of arterial collector, so that we're all talking off the same page for what they are instead of the road to my house.
On the top 5. Yeah. Okay, and we can pull that up and view it. Is that everything? Yeah.
The next meeting,
Yeah, we need to schedule that, and I think we need to get a little more often. Because we can't stretch it out. Month and a half. And we have something more to do than really realize. Once we can kind of get started, but I think most the committees like Rotary up here, we are first and third Wednesday of every month. And I agree with Kurt, it's good for us to have our meetings on like a Monday afternoon at 3:00 because it works into his schedule for we're not pulling him off of a job to come to our meeting. I'm sure it still is, but it's not as.
Well, yeah, during the summer, because streets works the 4/10s, Tuesday through Friday, so Monday's a better day for me to.
And afternoon, and I'm better with afternoon anyhow.
well, I would suggest that we have the official meeting once a month and we have a work meeting between it.
Okay,
Because I think the work meeting will be productive than an official.
right. And
Agreed.
then that would just us do. And when we do that, then Smiley will just be zoomed in and are you gonna come visit us?
I'm trying very hard to. And the whole point of
Okay.
buying a house in Angel Fire was to be there for summers.
Okay,
So are you looking at June 22nd?
yeah, we could do the 22nd.
For a work meeting,
At 3?
yeah, June 22nd for a work meeting would work, and then July,
22nd for a work. Okay, and that we can do here. We can use the conference room
So what's the date for the regular meeting?
or, that
well,
would,
it falls on the 6th of July, but is that,
July.
is that a good date for?
Yes, it's available here. So are you guys gonna meet here on the 22nd? Or is that your work session for the?
That's our work session, but we'll probably meet here. Maybe either in the conference room or.
Oh, I see. Yes, you're welcome to.
Okay, why don't we just schedule it, that work meeting for the conference room? And then that, five of us, well, we can, bring Smiley in on a laptop.
So July 6th is gonna be the one where you want me to send Chief Hogarth the invite? Is that correct?
July sixth doesn't work for me.
Okay.
Okay, 13th would be our next option.
13th works.
Is everybody good with 13th of July?
I'll be gone.
That works.
Um,
I'll be in Arkansas.
okay, because if we keep pushing it, then we'll clear back.
No, me.
We're. Okay, you'll be here for the work meeting. And that one's probably more important because anything we put together at a work meeting, we can bring to our meeting. And, we'll still have a quorum, so we'll be able to make decisions. Okay, so let's go ahead and just stick with the 13th.
13th of July, okay?
Yeah.
What time?
3:00.
Thank you.
Is that the one you want me to invite Chief Hogarth to?
The work one, you want to do it at 3 in the afternoon also?
That's fine.
I think it's good to just stick with that 3:00. Because all of us don't really have.
The July one is the one where we should invite the July 13th, the chief of police.
Yeah.
Right, not the June
Not the
26th.
June
Thank
one,
you.
no.
So we're good at the 13th.
So, good with the 13th.
Yeah, and then June 22nd on our work. On our work one, and we'll do that here, 3:00. Okay? Okay, do we have anything else? And we can go ahead and adjourn. Rich, you good?
Yeah, I was kind of started reaching out to y'all individually to see if we can create an opportunity for the tours.
Okay,
Initially, since we gotta get some stuff on workforce housing. I've already talked to the water department guys about having them take you guys on tour.
okay.
They can show you what we've done. David haven't.
We've been able to just shadow you and ride along and see what you do and educate ourselves on systems.
Yeah, they'll be able to give a good showing now. Yeah, I should say you probably won't see the whole system unless you got 5 hours. That's how long it
Right.
takes to drive to each of the
But
things.
if you're doing that shift and you've got to cover that whole thing, I would go in for 5 hours. You'd have to put up with me for 5 hours.
Well, that sounds like a job for Devin. So,
Okay,
thank you, gentlemen.
let's adjourn.